Today, on This Week in Iowa, sports betting is officially legal in our state. Now what? Then, we're investigating SNAP benefits and Medicaid issues in Iowa. Then, 2 interviews with 2 presidential candidates on the trail and at the Iowa State Fair. Their messages for Iowans to pick them in the caucus. Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us here on This Week in Iowa. I'm Sabrina Ahmed, and I am joined here by our new political correspondent, Rachel Droz. Rachel, good morning.
Good morning. I'm covering state house politics, the caucuses, and investigations into state and local government while I'm here in Iowa.
So it's very wonderful to have you not only on the team, but also joining us here on This Week in Iowa. So we're starting off our show with a discussion about sports betting, because this week sports betting officially launched. It's been legal. We've been talking about it for so long, but finally those first bets were placed, and you were there.
Yeah, I was. I was at Prairie Meadows in Altoona and the William Hill section of the casino where the ceremonial bets were placed. Take a look.
There they are. First bets made in the state of Iowa. Senator Jack Whitver, Senator Tony Bisignano.
There was a ribbon-cutting ceremony, and then hundreds of people gathered to place their bets. Jack Whitver, a former Iowa State Cyclone football player, bet on the Iowa State game, and Senator Bisignano bet on his favorite team, the New York Yankees.
So, Rachel, it looks like there were so many people there. You said it was hundreds, but talk to me about the atmosphere.
Well, there was a lot of energy in the room, and I was shocked to see how many people on a Thursday afternoon at 12 o'clock were there. I mean, the line was around the corner, and people were ready to get their bets placed.
Some nice long lunch breaks, I bet.
Yeah.
Now, there are now 2 ways for the state to make money on sports betting. One is with the licensing fees with casinos, and then the other is the tax revenue on the winnings. So how does the state compare to other states in both of those areas?
Well, let's start with licensing fees. The state really could have chosen an option to make a little bit more money for licensing fees. They are only charging about they're charging a one-time fee of $45,000, and then after that an annual fee of $10,000 to renew. That is on the lower end of the states, but then there are other states, of course, Illinois is one that's charging $10 million per license.
Whoa.
So they are set to make about $300 million their first year. So there was an option for Iowa to make a little bit more money, but I talked to state senators that were behind this bill, and they said that doing that here in Iowa, some of these casinos wouldn't have the option of really joining in on sports betting, so they didn't want to do that.
What does the revenue stream look like? What are the projections for Iowa to make on sports betting?
Not that much. They really are only expecting to see a 2 to 3% bump, but what they are expecting, and they said it's hard to estimate this, is there's going to be more people at these casinos doing more than just placing bets on sports. So they're going to be placing bets on things like at the casino or at the racetrack, so there's going to be a lot going on.
Is that a 2 to 3% bump in Iowa's entire budget, or just the gaming revenue that the
gaming revenue alone?
Okay, so there's still that unsolved issue with sports betting and its connection to past debts that Iowans owe when they make their winnings. So what can you tell us about that issue?
So that is something that was really just they overlooked it, and so they are going to go back in January to fix that problem. I talked to the senators. They said that that should be an easy fix to make.
Okay, but until then, the rule where Iowans must pay their past debts before they can take on winnings?
That won't be happening until this new law goes into effect that they still need to write and work on.
Okay, Rachel. Rachel's going to stick with us because we have a whole lot more to get to, including an investigation you've been working on. So coming up next, Governor Reynolds makes a decision on how to pay $1.8 million in fines handed down by the USDA for errors in the SNAP program. Rachel found those errors, and she's going to talk to us about it next.
Local 5 tells the stories that matter to you.
Including the ones happening at the largest event of the year.
Over 125 different animals.
It's always a good view of down to see what everybody's doing.
From the newest foods and best deals to the can't-miss competitions.
How do you make this lemonade?
Local 5 has the inside scoop at the Iowa State Fair.
Follow us on Facebook and Twitter for digitally exclusive content.
Extensive coverage on air and online, because at Local 5, we are Iowa.
I know people love the dish remote. It's great. So why build in a Google Assistant? I mean, who really needs a TV remote that can turn the thermostat up,
change temperature to 72,
the lights down,
dim the lights,
and still access their DVR?
play video?
Actually, some people could absolutely use a remote like that. The new Dish voice remote. Dish, tuned in to you.
How do you win over fans? You give them something they love, something no one else can, something they can't get enough of. And then you give them more. Hurry in to see why Ram has the most loyal half-ton pickup owners during the Ram Summer Clearance event.
It's State Fair time. Now get 20% off MSRP on select 2019 Ram 1500 Classic models in dealer stock.
Americans are sick and tired. Sick of skyrocketing prescription drug prices. Tired of drug companies charging us twice as much for medicines as people in other countries. Thankfully, Senator Grassley is standing up to the big drug companies and putting America's patients first. He's leading the fight in Congress to stop drug company price gouging. Americans are getting ripped off. Call Senator Grassley. Tell him you support his work to lower drug prices.
You're watching This Week in Iowa, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Iowa.
Welcome back, everyone. We are thrilled to have Rachel Droz, the newest member of our political team, continuing the discussion on the couch this morning. And we're switching gears now, talking about an investigation that our team on This Week in Iowa, as well as at Local 5, uncovered over the past week. And Rachel, you kind of spearheaded this.
Yeah, it's about SNAP benefits. And I found out that Iowa has over and underpaid SNAP benefits in 2018 at a very high rate. That is according to a letter sent from the USDA Secretary Sonny Perdue to Governor Reynolds. But we're just finding out about it now. The state is on the hook for $1.8 million because of that high error rate.
So the state basically has admitted that they dropped the ball. They say they're working to fix things within their department. They recently hired 12 more people to help with the SNAP program.
Yeah,
but that's not the end.
No. This week I asked the governor how error rates like this can be prevented in the future, and she says part of that solution is upgrading technology in state departments.
We need to take a look at technology and innovation. We're not using that in the manner that we should. We have a system that's not where it should be, and they are working on that at the Department of Human Services, so I'm really excited about helping us be more efficient and effective in providing the services for Iowans.
So Sonny Perdue brought this to the state's attention just last month. But Rachel, is it true that the state has known about this for more than a year?
Yeah, according to the former director, Jerry Foxhoven, they were alerted to it by the USDA last year. So they had all this time to fix it and didn't really do anything. And I asked Governor Reynolds about that, and she said that's part of the reason why she's hoping to take that department in a new direction.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about this letter. You've read it. The one is from USDA Secretary Sonny Perdue, sent to the governor. What stood out in that letter to you? Well, it was a little bit harsher than you would expect it to be coming from the Secretary of Agriculture to a governor of a state. He says that he wants Governor Reynolds to take a personal leadership role. That's the line that stuck out to me as saying he wants her to step up to the plate and take ownership of her administration and get this problem fixed. $1.8 million. That's kind of a drop in the bucket when you really think about how big our state's budget really is. But what options does the state have? Do we have to pay that $1.8 million? So there is an option to pay it in full, but the governor said that we're not going to accept that option. We're hoping to partially pay some of that fine that we got, but then use the rest of the fine that we got to actually invest in the technology upgrades that she says that we need. Okay, so we hear that word invest, but there's also this human capital problem, and there's a need to invest in the number of employees who are at DHS. Do you think that the governor has her sights set on increasing the number of employees at DHS? It's not off the table. She did say this week that she is looking into that, but she really thinks that people need to start taking a look at how they're using the money that they have before they start allocating more money to these state departments. Well, and of course, you know, when you take money and give more money to one department, that means you have to take money away from another department. Exactly, unless you want to raise the revenue, which means more taxes. Okay, Rachel, well, thank you so much for this investigation and all the hard work that you're doing here at Local 5 so far. We are so happy you're on the team. I'm happy to be here. We'll take a short break, everybody. You're watching This Week in Iowa.
You have worked for a long time. There are so many decisions to make about your retirement. How much income do you need? How not to run out of money? Now is your chance, and you get one shot to get it right. Attend Merkle Retirement Planning's Passport to Retirement. We will discuss how to create tax-free income, how to avoid the next market meltdown, and how to wring every dime out of Social Security. Your time is now. Classes fill quickly. Call or text today. Zero cost to attend.
Hold on. You telling me Iowa State is the top pick in the Big 12? Seriously? They don't belong here, man. They still need to prove it.
Local 5 on your side means answers to your questions.
And we're just doing the stories that the community wants us to do, to empower you with something as a viewer that you can move forward with.
What drives these people to go above and beyond and be exceptional Iowans? That's stuff we can all use in our own lives.
To be able to be that line of connection for people is huge to them. And they can reach out to Local 5, and they're going to get answers.
We are Iowa, and it's everything to me.
Imagine an America where harmony displaces hate, that protects our planet, provides health care for everyone. An America where public places are safe spaces, where morality overrides money, power restored to the people. Imagine a leader driven by compassion, brave enough to take on the impossible, who looks beyond herself to do what's best for us.
I'm Kirsten Gillibrand, and I approve this message.
You're watching This Week in Iowa, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Iowa.
Welcome back, everyone. Senator Michael Bennet of Colorado is appealing to the more moderate Democrat in his race to the White House. I sat down with him in Des Moines after he visited the Iowa State Fair.
I think the number one issue is that people are working really hard, but they can't afford some combination of health care, housing, higher education, or early childhood education. If they're living in rural parts of the state, just like in my state of Colorado, that economic dislocation is even deeper, and the worry about whether or not we're going to be able to sustain an economy that the next generation is going to be able to succeed with, that I think is the overarching concern. It's no different than what I hear at home.
So then how do you decrease that wage gap? How do you help Iowans pay for health care?
I think there are a number of ways. On the wage gap, we've got to drive an economy in this country where when the economy grows, it grows for everybody. And I think one of the frustrations that led to the election of Donald Trump was that people looked at a Washington that wasn't particularly interested in that or focused on that. And so, you know, I don't think the right remedy was electing Donald Trump. I think it's the last thing we should have done. But I understand why people did it. But now we have to get to a place where we're investing in the economy, where we're investing in education. We're investing in our rural economies, which we haven't been doing. We spent $5 trillion on tax cuts that mostly went to wealthy people since 2001. By the way, we borrowed every single cent of that from the Chinese. We spent $5.6 trillion in the Middle East. We borrowed every single cent of that from the Chinese. So that's 11 or 12 or 13 trillion dollars that we could have spent investing in America, making Social Security solvent, investing in these kids' education, you know, increasing the teacher pay by 50% in America, paying down some of our deficit. We did none of that. And on health care, which you mentioned in specific, I think the right answer here is a public option that will create universal health care quickly in America by giving everybody a choice, every single person in America a choice about whether they want to stay on the insurance they have or whether they want to be on a public option. But as we do that, we need to be very focused on cost, and I don't think we have been focused on cost in this Democratic debate. I hear about it all over Iowa. I hear people say they can't afford their medicine. I hear people say they can't afford their doctor bills. I hear people say that their family is being bankrupted by our healthcare system, and we need to address that as a country.
What would you say is the easiest and quickest answer to solving climate change?
I don't think there is an easy, quick answer. I think that we need to deal with it urgently but we also need to create a durable solution that will last for generations. And that's why I've proposed a climate plan that actually engages rural communities, farmers and ranchers in that solution, because I think we have to build a political constituency in this country that will support both an urgent approach and a durable approach. People that say that this is something that we can solve overnight, I think, are not telling the American people the truth.
How do you get?
I regret that, by the way, because it is a problem that we need to deal with, because the next generation, it's going to be too late by the time they get to it.
How do you get farmers to get on board with some of those more sustainable
My hope is that, you know, in the end, the working lands in this country provide a really interesting opportunity for us to sequester carbon in our soil, to thinking about changing our farming practices across the country to create healthier soil that sequesters carbon. And if we can get to a place where farmers and ranchers are rewarded for that behavior, they're the best mathematicians that I know, and I think that's a way of driving economic growth in our rural economies.
We're sitting in a school right now. How do you encourage school districts or help school districts pay teachers more to increase the teacher pay? Because we have teachers from Iowa moving to Minnesota.
Teachers are moving from Iowa to Minnesota. People are moving from Colorado to Wyoming in search of teacher pay. And we've got to pay our teachers like the professionals that they are. And in order to get to a place where we can do that, we have to recognize that the whole system of teacher pay that we have is based on a labor market that discriminated against women and said, you have two professional choices. One is being a teacher, and one is being a nurse. And ever since then, we have paid people who teach in these schools, who have the hardest job in America, the lowest wages of any professional in America, expecting that they're going to do the same thing for 30 years to get a pension so they can retire. That's not the way the world works anymore. And as president, I would work with every governor in this country and every school superintendent in this country. I was one, to decide how, as a nation, we come together and modernize our teacher pay for the 21st century. We have to modernize school for the 21st century. We're sitting in a school today that is a year-round school. That's very novel in America. But I think it points to a path forward where we're no longer running school based on a 19th century model, but we're running school based on a 21st century model. None of that's going to be easy. I don't think any of the answers we face are going to be easy. That's one of the reasons I'm running for president, because I want the American people to know that we face difficult challenges that talking points aren't going to overcome.
Of course, being from Colorado, marijuana legalization also came up in our discussion, and he said proper labeling of THC, allowing for baking, and decriminalizing at a federal level are three important steps. He says that would also be a step in the right direction for criminal justice reform. We speak to another federal lawmaker running for president, Congressman Tim Ryan, next.
Did you find everything all right today?
I did, thank you.
When you get the new And Rewards card from Come & Go, you'll discover how fast the rewards add up. It's the easy way to earn points on the things you buy, so you can get more of what you love. More free food, more free drinks, and more fuel discounts. The more you use your Come & Go And Rewards card, the more you get. Stop in to get your card or download the app and start rewarding yourself with more today. Come & Go, where and means more.
Nothing compares to Iowa State Fair favorites.
And this year, we want the Local 5 Giant Slide to be yours.
Rising 50 feet high, it's one of the most iconic features of our state fair.
And it's designed with you in mind. The yellow color keeps it cool, and the grooves keep you going straight.
Visit iowastatefair.org for a list of attractions you can see August 8th to 18th.
Make sure the Local 5 Giant Slide is at the top of your favorites list.
You have worked for a long time. There are so many decisions to make about your retirement. How much income do you need? How not to run out of money? Now is your chance, and you get one shot to get it right. Attend Merkle Retirement Planning's Passport to Retirement. We will discuss how to create tax-free income, how to avoid the next market meltdown, and how to wring every dime out of Social Security. Your time is now. Classes fill quickly. Call or text today. Zero cost to attend.
Let's play.
From the outlaws.
I think we know how this is going to go.
To the warriors.
Nobody can dispute the rightness of what we're doing.
And every heart pound, smoke and barrel, hot pursuit
and powerhouse punch in between.
Sometimes you gotta go for it.
Handy up and kick in like men. Like men!
It all is
She ain't seen bad yet.
on Grit Television with Backbone. You're watching This Week in Iowa, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Iowa.
Welcome back, everyone. Congressman Tim Ryan gained name recognition when he challenged Nancy Pelosi for Speaker of the House. And now he wants to be president. I caught up with him at the Iowa State Fair.
Well, people don't want the party to go too far in one direction. We're having a lot of conversations now about, giving free health care to undocumented people in the country. I think they should get health care, but they have to pay for it like everybody else. We talk about decriminalizing people coming over the border. We've got to have it's got to be a crime to just wander into the United States, just like it should be a crime to wander into anybody's house. You can be compassionate. You shouldn't be separating kids from their families, but have a process to go through it. And then taking away private health insurance, like a couple of our leading candidates want to do with the Medicare for All. Those are going to get us to lose 48 states, and I'm having a rough time thinking about the 2 states we're going to be able to win with that as the lead agenda. So that's what's resonating with people for me, and I think for other candidates like Joe Biden, that they're worried that we may give this election to Donald Trump.
So what's your solution to health care if you don't believe in Medicare for All?
Universal coverage, have a public option where people can buy in. I believe we should drop Medicare to 50 and allow those people, the 60 million Americans, and all the studies are saying that those people would save about 40% on their health care costs, allow small businesses to buy in, they'll see reduction of costs. But then we've got to get around the 75% of healthcare costs that are chronic diseases that are largely preventable. And how do we build out a system that saves that money? It's about $3.5 trillion a year on healthcare costs that are diseases that we could prevent. So how do we use food as medicine to reverse things like type 2 diabetes? How do we incentivize doctors and patients to be able to make some money or save money by getting healthy and staying healthy? That's the transformational healthcare system that we need. And whether you're talking about Medicare for all or Medicare for some or private insurance, those systems are going to sink when half the country has diabetes or pre-diabetes. It's not going to be able to survive itself. So let's get healthy. And I say that at the Iowa Fair, so I'm going to go eat a deep-fried Oreo.
Well, it's all about balance,
That's right, that's right.
What would you say is the solution to the tariff situation that we're in right now? Because at the end of the day, Iowa farmers are the ones who are bearing the brunt of the situation.
I think 2 things. One, President Trump needs a strategy. The tariffs are a tactic. China is cheating. They are stealing our IP. They are undermining our economy to the best they can. So is Russia. But the tariff is a tactical move. What's the broad strategy? My approach is to have a strategy. Beat them at electric vehicles. Beat them at 5G. Beat them at solar. Beat them at wind. They're dominating these industries now. So let's outcompete them. That's one. And in rural America, I've got an agenda that wants to move us from this monopoly and industrial ag policy to regenerative and sustainable agriculture, where we take out all the inputs around pesticides and all the money that farmers are spending and move us to a way of farming that's actually good for the soil, good for the earth, good for the water, good for drought resistance. And these are the only farmers in America that are making money right now, and they're making good money in the regenerative farming. So I'm going to set up a system where we're actually going to teach farmers how to move to regenerative agriculture, how to absorb some of their costs that they have incurred in the old game that they keep losing. They haven't made a profit in 5 years. So that's going to be my agenda, and we're going to be bringing farmers to Iowa who are doing regenerative agriculture and making lots of money and say, look, this is the future for us. And you can sequester carbon, which is going to help us with climate change.
That's a big ask, though, for these farmers who have been in the industry for their whole lives, and they're following the same practices that maybe their parents did, or they've evolved with these companies knocking on their door and saying, hey, I've got a quick fix solution for you, and it's called Roundup.
Yeah, and it's not working. They're not making money. It's poisoning the food. It's poisoning the soil. Now we're seeing the flooding happen because the soil doesn't absorb the water that it used to absorb when it was thick and rich. And I've been to farms in Iowa that have soil that absorb the water and can prevent the flooding if we do this on a grand scale, and I'm willing to help them through that transition. But what they're doing now isn't working. What about for criminal justice reform? What would you say is the best way to solve the issue across the country? I mean, first and foremost, the system is racist. It dramatically punishes people of color more so than white people. And so we've got to fix that aspect of it. I think when it comes to marijuana crimes, legalizing marijuana to make sure that people aren't going into that system and getting trapped, in forgiving people who may have been caught with a marijuana crime. But also, we've got to get private investment into these communities. We've got to develop their economy, too. And when you pull an African-American male out of the family, there are profound economic impacts to that community. So it's not just the criminal justice side, which is really important, but it's also how do you get private investment into those communities.
So on the marijuana front, do you agree with decriminalizing it, or do you want to legalize it nationally?
Legalize it nationally.
Recreationally?
Recreational. It should be open. It's no different than alcohol, and it's in many ways it's a lot safer when it comes to vehicles and car crashes and all the rest. And it's costing us so much money now to prosecute these crimes.
You're watching This Week in Iowa. We'll take one more short break.
Hey, Central Iowa, Crossroads Shooting Sports is your premier indoor shooting range. With certified staff, we take your education, safety, and security seriously. Whether it's your first time holding a gun or you're an experienced shooter, Crossroads is a place for you. With a state-of-the-art indoor range, full-service training and conference facilities, and complete retail shop, Crossroads Shooting Sports is here to meet your needs. Visit crossroadsshooting.com to learn about events, training courses, and more. Crossroads Shooting Sports, where responsibility and skill meet.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you're testing your blood sugar 4 more times per day, injecting insulin 3 or more times per day, or using an insulin pump, call the Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare, you can get a new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you are testing your blood sugar 4 more times per day and injecting insulin 3 or more times per day, or using an insulin pump, call now and learn how to receive your new continuous glucose monitor at little or no out-of-pocket cost.
Best part about football? The highlights. So Dish gives you NFL Red Zone, no extra charge. That's every touchdown from every game Sunday afternoons. Because we know if you miss that action, you miss all this action. And that would be an awful shame.
Dish with NFL Red Zone at no extra charge. Tuned in to you.
Welcome back, everyone. Before we go, we want to highlight some of the most interesting moments of the packed 11 days of the Iowa State Fair. How about the cow chip throwing contest? For those of you who are not familiar, they are throwing basically dried cow poo. The winners who tied for first threw the cow chip 81 feet. Now, one thing you definitely have to check out is the alligator show inside the kids zone at the State Fairgrounds. This is a live alligator inside a cage, and he's putting on a show for people of all ages. Shows ran every day, and they attracted quite the crowd. One candidate we lost this week in the presidential race is John Hickenlooper, the former governor of Colorado. He dropped out on Thursday and is mulling a Senate bid in Colorado. Thank you so much for joining us on This Week in Iowa. We'll see you next Sunday.